And you got me that way, and I'm wondering if I came on too strong. Walking side by side and backwards down the stairs, all wrong. Can't even read or see the signs along.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here again for the Blue Collar Business Podcast.
Hello.
Episode 5. We've
Yeah.
been doing this
Years
5 times now.
5 times.
It feels like a routine now, though,
Yeah.
and at least from my perspective. Yeah, so just a brief intro. Our show is about our two businesses. We have separate businesses. I was thinking last time I listened to the show, I should specify that. We don't work together.
Yeah.
We do the same thing, but we actually have separate businesses.
Right.
So we're talking about our experience running our own business. We do home remodeling and handyman work. My first year that I did it, I made $55,000, and I was only working about 30 hours a week that whole first year. So that was the most money I'd made, and I was also super flexible. And like I said, working 30 hours a week because I was doing school and I was doing another job, and it was awesome. Like I was so surprised that I made that much money doing this.
Yeah,
and I wasn't doing it full time.
That's a good deal there. That's pretty good money.
Yeah, so I just mentioned that so people can get a feel for how they could put themselves in our shoes, and maybe we can motivate them to start their own business.
Yep.
All right, so this week we're going to be talking about why we like running our own businesses. And to be honest, we didn't prepare a lot for this episode. It's only a few days after our last
Not
episode.
a ton. I
at
looked
that
at
we're
the notes
recording.
that you sent today, and I added a couple. So
Yeah, we got 6 bullet points
Yeah.
on our shared document. So, but it's also a topic that is going to be easy to talk about because, like I said, we're just talking about, we want to motivate you guys to do this. So we're just sharing like the highs of running your own business.
Yep.
Not necessarily the highs of the work we do, because we don't always love the work we do.
yeah,
Like Grant's doing a drywall job right now that he kind of
So
hates.
if you're doing drywall or something, it's not that kind of work that's always great. You know, the get in there and actually get stuff done kind of work. But, just generally owning your own business is really nice.
Yeah, not everybody loves their day-to-day,
Yeah.
but you can appreciate the fact that you're running your own business, and it's different than most people's day-to-day in that regard. So let's dive into it. Let's start with what we usually start with. What have we been working on?
All right.
So, Grant, what have you been working on? You just asked me to borrow a drywall hopper from my stuff. So what's that about?
So this week I've been working on a drywall job, and I'm repairing like a bunch of cracks and just gaps in this ceiling in a garage. And it's been kind of a lot. And my right shoulder is about to give out because it's in the ceiling, and I have to hold my arm up all day.
Is all the work you're doing in the ceiling? There's nothing on the walls?
Mostly, yeah, pretty much all of it.
Okay.
And it's just kind of, I don't know, the scope of it. When I started, there's only like a couple visible spots that didn't look good. I'm like, okay, I just gotta repair those spots. But once I got up there and started removing the bad areas, it's like the whole ceiling just started to crumble apart. So
Oh, gosh.
It's almost doubled in terms of the size of the repairs.
I'm very sorry for you.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Oh, this is a question that might be interesting. We'll go back to what you're doing, but if you knew that it was going to be this much work, would you have said yes to doing it?
It was like, I don't know, it really kind of, just once I got started on it, it really got way worse. It was hard to tell. I definitely would have gone for it from what I saw.
But even now,
Even now,
you wish you hadn't?
it's close to I wish I hadn't, but it's not that bad yet. But I'm not even done yet, so I don't know.
Okay. Maybe at the end. I'll ask you again next time.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how many jobs do you think, when you actually are in the middle of it, you regret having taken on? Legitimately wish that you had not done it?
Yeah.
What percentage do you think of those situations you're in?
Not that often, but if it's drywall or painting, and I accidentally say I'm going to do some large painting area or a large drywall spot, it's just every time it takes me so long. It's not like I totally hate doing it, but it's I don't know. It's like so inefficient for how slow I am.
Yeah.
Like if they just hired someone else,
Yeah.
it would have been way better.
Yeah, I'd say like 10% of the jobs I do, that happens to me. And
Yeah.
it's usually because I kind of underbid it. And then I'm like in the middle of it and it's taking way longer than what I thought it was. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be making nearly as much as I hoped I would. And I'm like, I shouldn't have done this.
Right.
Next time, I'm not going to do a job like this. That happens sometimes, but I'd say only 10% of the time. The other 90%, I'm happy with what I got.
Other 90% of it is like, why we're doing this topic. It's good.
Exactly. It's positive. Okay, just a little bit more. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but how much longer do you think it's going to take you to finish this?
There's some other stuff I got to do at the house, but the drywall alone will probably take me. I also got to paint the whole ceiling, so I don't know. With all that, probably 2 or 3 more days.
Okay. How much did you bid them for? What was your estimate?
It was pretty good. I think it was. I think with the painting and all the drywall work, I think it was somewhere around like 1,100.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it's not like great, but it's definitely better than some of the other jobs I've done. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, and you started it this week, right?
Yeah, I've probably worked, I don't know, maybe 20 hours on it so far. I started like Tuesday afternoon.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good money, hopefully, by the end of it. And you're going to probably tack a little more onto it, like you said, because it's more than what
Right,
you
yeah,
bid
I'll
them for.
probably be able to add a little bit more.
Yeah, that sounds like a decent job. Making money.
Yeah, what have you been doing this week?
This week, I haven't had anything since our last episode, because we only recorded a few days ago.
Yeah, it was about 4 days ago, so.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this before on the show, but I'm no longer doing this full time. Like I'm doing maybe a job or two every couple weeks.
So when you say you don't have a job, doesn't mean you're unemployed.
Yeah,
You
I'm
just-
not doing nothing. It's just that I'm not doing this as much. So since we last talked, I haven't added anything, but I have been texting somebody who wants me to do some drywall also on their ceiling, and I'm kind of debating whether or not I should do it because I hate doing drywall on ceilings.
Do it.
It's the
Ceilings
worst.
are tough.
You just after 3 hours of it, you regret having done it at all.
Yeah.
But I'll probably do it because it's, I'll just give them a number that I'm really happy with, and if they say we'll do it for that much money,
okay. That's a
then
good
I'll be
idea.
like, all right, whatever.
It's kind of way over.
Even if I hate the job, I'll be happy with the
then
paycheck.
for sure, you'll be happy with doing it.
Yeah. Also last time, we've been talking a lot about drywall. I guess we're drywallers apparently.
Yeah.
But the last job that I did, which I already talked about on the show, I also used the hopper gun that you borrowed tonight. And I hate that thing. It sprays.
so messy.
It's so messy.
It's
I
really
felt like
annoying.
an absolute clown because when I did that part of the job, like I got all the base coats done, I'm ready for the texture. I spray it on. I mean, it gets absolutely everywhere. My hair is covered in drywall. My shoes were completely coated in drywall, so I had to take them off. And the last 6 hours I was there, I was walking around in socks or bare feet because I had to take my shoes off. They were coated in drywall. And I was tracking it everywhere. So
When I use that thing, I like set up a barrier of cardboard and I just hold it out in front of it, and then it gets soaked, and it's just like gross, but it kind of works.
oh, that's a smart idea. I'll have to try that.
Just to keep it from going like on the floor and everything.
Yeah. Wow.
It doesn't
Genius.
work great, but it works better.
It's better than
just
zero.
letting it spray.
Yeah, I just put up plastic, and it didn't really help all that much. Okay, well, we got that out of the way. Let's kind of get into our topic.
Yeah.
So we want to discuss what it is that we love about this, not about our jobs, not about drywall, but about running our own businesses. What would you say on that? What are some main things that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I really like just the freedom of like setting your schedule is probably one of the best parts.
Definitely.
You can just figure out when you want to work. I mean, sometimes it's a really great thing. I mean, for me personally, sometimes it's like I got to really schedule stuff because if I don't, I just like I won't do as much work as I could.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kind of lazy sometimes. So
Like if you don't
I
if
just got to get it
past-
scheduled and say I'm going to be there. Because if
Yeah.
I don't, I'm like, I'm not going to set up a job today. I'll just take the day off. But
If past Grant isn't responsible, present
Right.
Grant is definitely not going to be responsible.
exactly. So but it's very nice to just have that freedom.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's been huge. That's like what I mentioned. My first year, I was only working 30 hours a week because I was finishing school. I'm trying to do my undergrad. So that was a decent amount of work at the time. And I was working with my wife at our ministry job, which I'm doing currently. And that was a few hours a week. So, like, I was able to do other things and still make like decent income with my job just because it was so flexible. I could work
Yeah. Just
like
whenever
I
you
could
had
do
a
school whenever I was free.
Yeah.
I could just schedule jobs to free myself up to do other things. It was so nice. We also could, like, if I really needed to take a day off to do something, like if something emergency happened, then I was able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never really had like some major emergencies, but I did need to really needed to replace my brakes. So I finally was able to just take a few days off and
Oh, right. You did
get that done
this week.
Yeah. Or last week, that's what I did. So stuff like that is just great to have that flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably the top one for me, which I think most people who run their own businesses might say that.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because other people who run their own businesses might also say kind of the opposite, that it kind of controls their schedule. I think because sometimes you can get maybe in too deep and it becomes super overwhelming because you're like trying to stay above water and you're working all the time.
Yeah.
But for what
I've
we
done
do,
that.
it's pretty low
Yeah.
investment.
I've been better about that. I've done that to myself when I was flipping houses. I was doing that, and I was also trying to do my own kind of handyman work on the side.
Oh, yeah.
Like just when there's like kind of a smaller gap in between, house flips, I would try to fit something in between that, and they would kind of overlap sometimes. I'd be working like, I don't know, I'd work all day, 8 hours, and then I'd have to go work at night to go finish this other job.
Yeah,
and that would be
remember
like
you
a whole
doing
week of that,
You'd
and it was
be
just
up till like midnight working on jobs.
it was mostly just one job, but I like really messed it up, and I was working like way too long. I was up till like 2 a.m. some nights at this gym I was working at, and it's just not good. So I could see that can be a problem for some people unless you really schedule things right.
Yeah, and it depends on what your goals are too. Like for me, I wasn't trying to make $100,000.
Yeah.
Like if my goals were different, I wanted to make tons of money and work 40 to 50 hours a week, then I probably could have made a lot more money, but I also would have been a lot less flexible.
Right.
So you get what you want. Like I
Yeah,
wanted less money and a little more flexibility, and that's what I got, and I was happy with that. Other people may not be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with it is like you can decide like what you actually want.
Yeah,
out
it's
of it,
in your
so-
hands, which is also what I love about this. Is like there's a certain sense in which if I need more money, I can go out and make it.
Right,
Which is
right.
kind of awesome.
Like, oh, I need a lot of money for some vacation or something. Like you could just work really hard the few weeks before.
Yeah.
And you got some extra income.
And other people don't really have that option. It's like you could either try and see if your employer will give you extra hours if that's a possibility, or
Yeah.
you could try and get a part-time job.
It's
not as
kind of
easy.
more direct to like the amount of effort you put into it is the more money you make. So
Yeah.
it just seems way better than sometimes a traditional, being an employee for someone.
Yep. Another thing that I was thinking about that I love about this is we are not employees of everybody or of anybody. Like we're our own boss. So that means we take home all the profit.
Yeah.
Like it's
Except for Uncle Sam. He's kind of our boss.
Uncle Sam is he's the boss. He's a tyrant.
He's a little greedy these days.
He is. What do you think your tax rate's at? Like 20%? 10%? 30?
I think it's like in between like 12 and 18 or something.
Yeah, I don't remember what mine's at, but it always feels like way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we like when I'm done with a job, I don't have to dish out cash to anybody but myself.
Yep.
And Home Depot if I had to buy some stuff. But
Right,
that
right.
happens during the job.
Homer.
What'd you say?
That's the guy at Home Depot, their mascot Homer.
Oh, it's
You gotta dish out to Homer every once in a while.
Yeah, he's greedy too.
He can be.
Yeah, love that. Um, what else do I love? Do you have anything else that you love, Grant?
Um, let me check. There was definitely one other thing.
Oh,
Oh,
you mentioned that you get to choose what you kind of work you get to do.
yes, that's what I was gonna say next. Yes. Like, because I don't love doing drywall. I could just decide I'm not doing drywall ever again, and
Yeah,
I could
true.
still get a good amount of work doing other stuff. So you can decide what you actually want to work on. I mean, I think maybe in our kind of business there is a lot more variation in the types of
That's true. We
jobs we can
work
do,
very
but
broadly.
that's what's really great about what we do is like I don't have to get bored of like one kind of job I'm working on.
Yeah, but you could do that hypothetically with any profession. Like even if you
Yeah.
were like a plumber and that was your main income or your main task, you could also try to learn how to do drywall because when you're a plumber, you have to rip up drywall
Right,
and stuff
right.
like that. And you're like, well, I'm kind of sick of just doing plumbing all the time. I'd like to do other things. Like that's a possibility for you. You could try to
Right.
tack that on to other things that you do and kind of, I don't know, enjoy it a little more if you're getting bored of doing the same thing.
Yeah, so that was just something I thought of, more specifically for what we do. But it's very nice to have that kind of changing in what we do every day. So it's not like I don't know some jobs I do. I think I keep bringing up drywall, but I don't really love drywall that much. So it's like so
Yeah.
monotonous, and like sometimes I just don't want to do it. So I can choose not to sometimes and just do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm not doing this full time anymore, but
Or painting. I don't like painting. I almost never do major painting jobs.
oh, really? Not
I'll
at all?
just say no to that, and yeah.
I don't mind it. So I actually did a lot of painting.
I'll do small sections, but like not an entire room or something.
Yeah. Sometimes it could be lucrative. Yeah, when I was doing it full time, my dream was to have enough leads to where I could just choose how much money I wanted to make and which jobs I wanted to do. I never really got to that point.
Yeah.
I think if I had tried a little more with advertising and like I said, I did some business cards and that was semi-successful and I never really got into online advertising, at least not in a way I was happy with. I mentioned how horrific Yelp was,
Yes.
but I wanted to try Google.
You don't like them.
I do not like them at all. I wanted to try Google and I never got into that. I was pretty close to trying it, but I just didn't. I've heard from other people that it's pretty affordable and it's pretty consistent leads. So I think that would be something I would have tried, or if I was doing this full time still, I would definitely try that now because it would be nice. The more leads you have, the more options you have. Like if you have 10 jobs that you could choose from, then if you don't want to do any drywall jobs and 3 of them
Right.
are drywall,
Yeah,
you could just say goodbye to those.
Exactly. For what I was saying is like you do have to have that kind of variety of clients and people actually asking for you. So
Yeah, but that's a very real possibility though.
yeah,
Like
no, it's definitely attainable.
it just you have to maybe pay a little bit more money for advertising if you want more leads. You have to invest more time. Like I said, maybe for every 100 business cards I did, I got 5 calls. So I mean that's not a horrible ratio. I could just do tons and tons and tons of business cards, and that would be a decent amount of leads. But it would take a lot of time for me to do that.
Yeah.
But that's totally possible. Like I could just spend a whole week just doing business cards,
Yeah.
and that could get me a decent amount of leads, and then that
Yeah.
would give me some more flexibility in what jobs I take on. Another thing I wanted to mention was not necessarily like what I love about this or why I feel motivated to do this, but I was just thinking like if I was somebody else who doesn't run their own business and works in some kind of blue collar field and is thinking about running their own, just kind of some of the, I guess, objections they might have. I've heard from other people, some friends and others who talk about how like the responsibility is a little bit much for them. Like if you're the main guy, if this is your business, something goes wrong, it's on you, And it's kind of
Yeah.
nice being an employee. You just go do your job and you get your paycheck. You're not even gonna, even if someone files a lawsuit, it's not your problem. It's the business's problem. So like there's some freedom there as an employee that you don't have to worry about at all, that I think some people object to. If they're going to start stepping out on their own, they have to take on that responsibility.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I feel like for other kinds of work, that could definitely be an issue. I mean, not so much. I've never really thought about it that much, because I feel like I'm not doing projects that are like large enough that where like just don't have the scope where someone would sue me for like some small drywall job or
Yeah.
something. But there's definitely businesses or small businesses that could be a major problem. So
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, if that is you and you are thinking that way, you can always get insurance.
yeah,
You
no,
can.
it's-
There are scenarios where you can mitigate the risk.
yeah, there's definitely
You
options.
can get insurance. You could also, just be very mindful of that. Like I don't know if I've told you this story, but there was one time I was changing out a toilet for somebody, and I changed out the toilet, and it was at this rental property, and so nobody was living at a time. It was in between tenants, and so the landlord was just having me fix up some stuff, and one of them was the toilet. And I was working late there, and I left at like maybe 10 p.m. and I put the toilet in, but I didn't feel great about it. It was a really old toilet, and I was just like, I really hope this doesn't leak. It's not leaking right now, but I'm
Yeah.
a little worried about it. And I got home, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I could not stop thinking about it for 1 minute.
No, I totally like understand that. Anytime
I went to
do
bed.
any kind of plumbing work, because like I don't know, it's been a couple times, but like when I was flipping houses, like once or twice, like we did run into a problem where there's like a small amount of flooding.
Yeah.
There's just so much water pressure, like you can flood a whole house in a few hours. So it's
Oh, yeah.
it's like it can be a real problem if you don't do it right.
We had some friends who they had a plumber, and they weren't at their house. They were like on vacation for the weekend, and there was a guy that was working on their house. He was working on their bathtub in the second story of their home. He he had the water off. He was working on something, and then before he left the house, he turned the water back on, but the tub upstairs was still open, and there
Oh.
wasn't the drain was plugged.
Oh,
So he left, and the tub was just filling up, and then it just overflowed, and they didn't find out until the next morning. The neighbor saw water flowing out of their front door.
oh gosh.
And the entire house was completely destroyed. And whenever I think about that, I'm just like, I imagine myself being that plumber.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened to him? Like, was he ruined?
It could. I think it could ruin someone unless you do get in like insurance or something.
I hope he had insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to redo their whole house.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so stuff like that gives me nightmares.
Yeah.
So I
No,
can
totally get
understand
that-
why
that
people
feeling.
would
it
be
is
worried
stressful
about
about that.
taking on that responsibility. But like I said, you can get insurance. You could also, it depends on what you're doing. Like not every job comes with the liability of that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
like we said, the flexibility of what jobs we get to take on. If I'm worried about risk like that, if I'm worried about plumbing, then I'll just do stuff that's not plumbing related.
Yeah.
That's not going to be as risky. So, yeah, I don't think that that's a strong enough reason to not take on.
Yeah, there's definitely
running your own
solutions to
business.
that.
Yeah, there is solutions, like you said. Yeah, and the benefits are way better than the fear of the responsibility it is to run your own business. And like even from your perspective, like does it feel like a ton of responsibility? Probably not. Like it's not that bad.
Oh no, I almost never really think about it.
Yeah. Like you do legitimately run your own business, but it doesn't feel like this big thing.
Yeah, no,
Like it doesn't have to feel
it's not
like
like
a big weight. It's
stressful
just-
or anything.
it's just a job, but you happen
Yeah.
to be the one running it and deciding which jobs to take on. So I think I've just heard that from people. Like I like to just not have the responsibility of it, and I get that, but like what we're doing does not require all that much responsibility at all.
Yeah.
It was probably, I had to be more responsible, I think, when I was working for somebody because I had to make sure I was there on time. I had to make sure all this and
I
that.
agree.
Like
yeah.
it's almost a little bit easier in some regards because I get to choose. Like if something comes up, I can say, hey, something came up. I have to reschedule for another couple hours from now. And people are usually understanding of that. But if you're your boss and you do that every day, that's a problem.
Exactly.
All right. Another, I was trying to think if there's any more thoughts that I had or if you had.
Oh, I mean, we kind of mentioned it, but I also think it's cool, especially with handyman stuff, is you can learn new things. Like you've brought it up in one of our
Oh, yeah.
previous podcasts, but you can take some time to experiment and let the clients know that you haven't really done a lot of work in this specific thing, and but you can get to learn new skills, and that's
definitely.
something you wouldn't always get to do in other jobs.
Yeah, there was one of my first few jobs when I started my own business. I was fixing somebody's garage door, and I had only done that once before. But I was like, I kind of want to get better at this. I think that I could make decent money doing garage door repairs. And so I wanted to try it. And I didn't get paid a lot that job, but I learned a lot doing it myself. And now I've done maybe a dozen repairs on garage doors, and it's been a good source of income. And I completely learned myself running my own business. Like I didn't learn anything about that really before.
And I feel like a lot of work that we do, it doesn't end up being like super difficult. It's just like you gotta learn from experience. You just gotta get in there and try it, and you figure it out pretty quick.
Oh yeah,
Like learning new skills, like it just takes effort.
I don't
and
know
patience
if
to
I've
learn
mentioned this
stuff.
on the show before, but like legitimately, everything we've learned has been from either YouTube or just trying it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
a
Like
lot,
we're
yeah.
not that special. I mean, I think we are generally handy, like more than your average person. But at the end of the day, we just do it full time. So we've gotten good at things. And like anybody, you can try anything. If you do it enough, you're going to be good at it. Like
Yeah.
I've known people who are like, I think they're these incredible mechanics, but they just started trying fixing stuff on their cars.
Right.
And now they've gotten good at it just from trying it.
Yeah. And I think it's just more general and not really handyman stuff, but like any kind of most blue collar work when you're just working with your hands, just like the problem solving of it is very rewarding, and I do enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like any kind of work, just learning how to figure it out is like it's rewarding. It's fun to do.
Yeah, like my last story I told you when I was in the bathroom at that place and I had to problem solve.
Exactly.
There's no
You
toilet
gotta
paper.
work
What am
your
I
way
gonna
out
do?
of a jam, and you gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
That's some high
That wasn't
stress
that
problem
rewarding,
solving
but-
right there.
But yeah, no, I feel that way too. Like there's been so many situations where I'm like, there's no solution. And then I just go back to my car and I think, and I'm like, okay, we can figure this out.
You
And then I
find
figure
some
something out, and
YouTube
then I'm like,
video,
I'm so
yeah.
happy I figured this out. And then
Right.
we're done. I got paid. Like it turned out great.
Mm-hmm.
But if I just got stressed and just gave up, I'm not going to learn anything.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our final question segment.
Okay. Did you have a big final question? I just had one that was kind of off topic, but I thought about it this week.
We can always have multiple final questions. I
Okay.
didn't think of one, but
Okay.
I know you have one.
Yeah, my question was, since we're running our own business, and just for you personally, like, what do you, you're a handyman, you do, construction type work. Like, what do you generally like wear on the job?
Yeah, I like that question because it's definitely relevant. It's
Yeah.
like how do you look professional, but also
Yeah, you don't want to like. Sometimes I like go through my like work shirts and they're just like covered in like paint and stuff. Like, I don't think maybe this time when I'm meeting a new client, I won't wear this one.
Yeah, I feel that too. If I'm meeting somebody new, I'm like, all right, I'll actually wear something that looks a little more
Yeah.
presentable. When I first started, I went to Goodwill and I just bought a bunch of clothes. Like I bought maybe 5 or 6 pairs of jeans.
I've gotten a lot of work jeans from Goodwill. Pretty much all of them, I think.
Yeah,
Actually, I think every single one.
I would never like use jeans that I regularly wear for work because they're gonna get destroyed. Yeah, so I just went and bought a bunch of cheap jeans and cheap like long sleeve T-shirts, and that's pretty much all I wear. I have one shirt that I wear occasionally that has my logo and my business name on it, but that's like I said, I'll wear that when I'm meeting a new client,
Okay.
and then I'll change into something that I can destroy.
What kind of like shoes you got? You got like boots or anything, or What's your
yeah.
go-to like daily kind of shoe?
I've tried a lot. I tried boots. I wasn't crazy about boots. They just felt too clunky.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
I
just
have
too
a
much.
good pair of boots, but I don't wear them more than like I don't know 10% or 20% of the time when I like need them if I'm doing framing work because they're
Yeah.
steel toe, so they're like you're very safe, but they're just so bulky. I don't like wearing
Yeah.
them all the time.
Yeah, so I kind of gave up on boots, and then I just got like almost like running shoes. That was a mistake. Those lasted like a week.
That's the
They
thing.
just
Yeah,
got
that
destroyed.
I've gone through the same thing where I've tried out like more comfortable kind of tennis shoes, but
Yeah.
they literally fall apart within
So
like a
fast.
week or two.
Yeah, and then my wife got me these, I forget the brand, but they were like working class shoes, and they had like a steel toe, but it was fiberglass, so it was a little lighter.
Mm.
And they were more like sports shoes rather than boots. And
They're just much more durable.
yeah, yeah, they were like really durable, just standard tennis shoes. And those were super comfortable. I wore those for a long time, but they also didn't hold up that well, unfortunately. Like I threw them away eventually because they only lasted maybe 8 months,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just broken beyond repair. So, but I did like those,
Yeah.
and I felt safer in them. Like I definitely remember dropping some stuff on my feet and being thankful that I had the steel toe.
Yeah, there's definitely been some moments where I'm glad I had the steel toe on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Also, with part of that question was like, since like we own our own business, you said you do have like some branded shirts and stuff. Like I've kind of always wanted to do that, but I never have.
Oh, you should. I don't know what kind of value it actually provides my business, but I kind of
but
like
I just
that
think
I
it
have
looks
it.
professional and cool. Like
Yeah.
any kind of like blue collar company or something, they just have like a a nice polo with like their company name on it. I just think it looks
Yeah.
professional.
I wish that I had like 10 of them and I could actually wear them to jobs and
Yeah.
get paint on them and not worry about it. But I only have one, so I don't want to ruin it. But I really like it. I think it looks really professional, and it kind of gives you it adds a lot, I think, to your overall look to people. Like, and that's
Mhm.
not insignificant. Like, you want to look professional, you want to look presentable to people so that they can trust you and refer you to others.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what are you doing now with shoes? Are you wearing boots or
I
what's
kind of
your
have like
go-to?
3 different shoes that I'll wear depending on what I'm working on that day. So like if I'm doing framing or something with nails and stuff, I'll wear my steel toe boots or something with lumber.
Okay.
But I don't, generally need that all the time, and they're just so heavy. So I'll either, if I'm not going to be like on the floor and like going to be doing something that might ruin my tennis shoes, I'll just wear my tennis shoes because they're the most comfortable. And then I have like a third pair that is just like the ones that I'm going to tear through. They're just like some old Vans that it's just some flats that
I got
I can
those
just
too.
they're not going to fall apart super quick, but I know they're not going to last, and I'm going to let them get dirtied.
Yeah. Well, you can live with it.
Yeah.
All right, I have one additional question. I was just thinking that it might be helpful as we're talking a lot about what we love about running our own business. It would probably be helpful to be transparent also about things that we don't like. So here's just briefly, we could probably talk a little more about this maybe in another episode.
Okay.
But what is something that you don't like about running your own business?
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind is like, I don't know, sometimes I just like it's easier sometimes to work for a company or be an employee,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, for me, I struggle with just kind of lazy sometimes. So it's
Yeah.
like if I have to be somewhere every day, it's I don't know, it's probably better for me.
Yeah,
So
like
it's kind of a
the
struggle
structure
sometimes
is
to
nice.
structure and schedule all my days, all the day, like for like 8 hours a day.
That's a good point. Like if you're someone who does not do well structuring your own schedule,
Yeah.
then it's going to be a challenge.
It's just
So that's
self
something.
motivation.
Not saying that you
can
shouldn't
be
do it.
an issue sometimes.
Yeah,
So that's just one thing to think about.
definitely. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Something I don't like is, like I mentioned, you kind of get to choose if you have enough leads, you get to choose which jobs you take on, which ones you don't. But there's been times where I haven't had many leads at all, and I'll just have to take whatever comes my way. And I don't like that because there's sometimes where I'll take on a job and I'm not making a ton of money, and I don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
Like, it's something.
It just kind of ruins the whole job. You just don't feel great about
Yeah.
it the whole time you're there.
The whole time I'm just kind of like, ugh, I can't wait for this to be over, and I just feel kind of
Right.
like a snail.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that definitely happens. I'd say most of the time things go well and I'm really happy with what I make, but there's definitely been some times where I haven't been getting a lot of leads and I'm just like, well, I don't want to do this, but I don't have anything else, so I might as well. And it's just not a good time.
Yeah.
Like I think I mentioned before, there was one time I was repairing some exterior windows for some guy and just like recutting the wood trim that he had around him because it was all rotten. And I bid him like $100, and it took me like so long, like a whole day.
Yeah.
And like the whole day for $100, I was not happy about that.
Yeah. I think that's also a major thing for me. Is just sometimes I can get my bids just so wrong. And
Yeah.
that can be very annoying.
Yeah, that's why I do the two numbers. Like
Yeah.
that's really helped me.
Yeah,
And I've had
remember to do
nobody
that more
complain
often.
about it. So that's my hack that I discovered.
Yeah, no, it's a very helpful tip.
Well, anything else to mention before we call it quits?
No, just if you're thinking about starting your own business, I think you should go for it. It's been good for
Definitely.
us. So
We love it. Generally, we do love it. That's why
Yeah.
we're talking about it. That's why we have this show. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
bye.
And you got me that way, and I'm wondering if I came on too strong. Walking side by side and backwards down the stairs, all alone. Can't even read or see the signs along the road. Someone tell me which way. Tell